a mandate.
I understand that! I understand that! I lived my life by your mandates. I dedicated my life to your mandate. I only ever did what you asked of me, what you told me to be and trained me to do, and I did it. And I did it well.
Captain America is the big blue Boy Scout in the Marvel Universe, may it be comics or the MCU. Since first appearing in the MCU, he's been a fan favorite of fans all around the world. Not only being a good soldier on the field, but a good person at heart, Steve Rogers has caught the hearts of millions of fans all around the world. But with his leave of absence in the MCU, and the possibility of seeing Hydra Captain America, or Captain Hydra as we know him in the comics, in the upcoming Avengers movie Doomsday, what does that leave us? Sure, we have Sam Wilson taking up the mantle of Captain America, and Bucky currently running a second Avengers team, which I think is gonna lead to another civil war between the two factions because of copyright. But what if Captain America had a temper? A mean right hook wasn't afraid to get a little un-American in the name of America. That's John Walker, also known as the US Agent, the government's answer to Steve Rogers, but with less restraint, with a whole lot of more trauma. John Walker made his MCU debut back in Falcon and the Winter Soldier back in 2021. Oh yeah, feel old yet? That show came out 4 years ago at the time of this recording, and I have never felt more old in my life. And I'm 23, that says a lot. Amidst the show, the actor who plays John Walker, Wyatt Russell, received death threats for placing Chris Evans in the role of Captain America. Have you seen the memes? The memes are absolutely absurd. Which says a lot about American MCU fans. Very reasonable crash out, John. Have a nice day. But with the release of the Thunderbolts, I refuse to call them the new Avengers, sweeping the nation in what we can only be said as the best Marvel movie that has come out in recent times, excluding the whole Deadpool and Wolverine fiasco. It's kind of annoying how people switched up on that movie, but it's still enjoyable, just not rewatchable, you know? John, along with the rest of the team, has been showered with nothing but love. With John Walker actually becoming a fan favorite. Where were all of you when The Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out? But why? After 4 years of being ridiculed by replacing Steve Rogers, why do we all love our mentally unstable, insecure junior varsity Captain America all of a sudden? Well, in today's cult meeting, we are going to be discussing the lore of John Walker as the US Agent and his current run in the comics and why we love the MCU's portrayal of this character. But before getting into today's cult meeting, leaving a like would be awesome as it gets the video out there, and subscribing will help the channel grow as we are growers and not showers. Just letting y'all know, I'm gonna be posting based on quality more compared to quantity because I'm currently doing OJT and balancing that out with work with the big boss man Rono Gaming is something I want to do, so bear with me, y'all. Also, be sure to check out our Patreon for exclusive content and early uploads. Now, before breaking down John Walker in the MCU, let's dive into his lore in the comics and break down his entire history from his first appearance to where he is now in Marvel Comics. John Walker's first appearance was in Captain America number 323 back in 1986. Born in Georgia, he idolized his older brother, a soldier who died in Vietnam. Wanting to be a hero too, John joined the army, but served during peace times, never seeing combat. Frustrated and feeling inadequate, he turned to a shady figure called the Power Broker, who gave him super strength, speed, and stamina. He rebranded as the Super Patriot, a showboating, jingoistic version of Cap. He publicly criticized Steve Rogers for being out of touch with modern America. In comparison to the MCU origin, he had 3 medals of honors and he was already the peak human being before he had the super soldier serum. He was specifically selected to replace Steve Rogers because he was already the peak soldier. He was basically a superhuman before the super soldier serum. Instead of berating Captain America, he actually felt humbled. He knew he had big shoes to fill and he felt that pressure. Here in the MCU, he's much more humble and he knows exactly whose role he has to fill. But in the comics, he's much more of a dick and he resents Steve Rogers, which I don't know about you, but that's 1 point to the MCU because I like it much more here compared to the comics. Hey, I'll take my patriotic white man that has humble beginnings and knows exactly his place and knows the role that he has to fill any day over than a cocky son of a bitch that thinks he's better than the old Captain America. But speaking of Cap, when does he become Cap in the comics exactly? In Captain America number 333, the US government decided they wanted more control over Captain America. Steve Rogers refused and hung up the shield like Spider-Man did in Spider-Man No More. And thus, the country was without a symbol of hope. But wait! They remember that they had another failed Patriot super soldier. A good soldier that knows how to follow orders, no questions asked. John Shoot Now Ask Questions Never Walker takes up the mantle as Captain America. Wow, that voice crack was out of nowhere. Now this is completely contrasting what we've seen in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because there he was already again peak human, being toe-to-toe with super soldiers and winning. They were terrorist super soldiers, by the way, and he won without serum. I remember him going toe-to-toe with 3 super soldiers and beating their asses with the vibranium shield. Once he took that serum, his limits were just shattered. And I know we have yet to see his full potential in the MCU, but an example of this in the Thunderbolts was a glimpse of what he could do. This dude quite literally jumped an entire football field via standing squat jump. He didn't need a running start. He just stood up and did it. Like, oh my god, that's Hulk levels of strength. Almost as high as the Hulk can jump, actually. But those are just his feats in the MCU currently. Back to the comic side of things, when he was given the title of Captain America, he was basically the government's lapdog. Everything they asked of John, he did. No questions asked. Because he had massive boots to fill. And he wanted to be the absolute best Captain America he could be. But he wasn't ready. John was violent, unstable, and out for blood. When a radical group called the Watchdogs murdered his parents, he snapped, hunting them down and killing them brutally. Similarly, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they go up against a super soldier terrorist group known as the Flag Smashers. After one of them kills his partner in cold blood, he does not stop until that person is nothing but a blood stain on the shield. And similarly in the comics, the public was horrified. But in the comics, Steve returned to reclaim the mantle, not before teaming up with John to take down the Red Skull. After returning as Cap, the government staged Walker's death to clean up the mess. I know. The government you worked so hard to protect just up and gets rid of you as soon as they realize they made a mistake and don't want to take responsibility for their actions. Cruel reality we live in, y'all. Walker didn't die, of course. Instead, his memories were suppressed and he was reintroduced as a new government operative named Jack Daniels. Subtle, right? If he wasn't obviously a raging alcoholic in the Thunderbolts, this was literally his name for a hot minute in the comics. Donning a black version of Captain America's suit, he became the US agent, a government-sanctioned super soldier with a bad attitude. He joined teams like the West Coast Avengers, Force Works, I don't even remember that remotely being a thing yet, so that's now I feel young. And even ran security for the Raft, Marvel's super prison. Over time, Walker did get his memories back and began wrestling with his past. The lives he took, the mistakes he's made, and the fact that he'll always live in Steve Rogers' shadow, that's something we love about John. But we'll get to that later in this video. The US agent has superhuman strength, speed, reflexes.
He does exactly what I do, but better.
He's a combat veteran, trained in hand-to-hand combat and shield fighting. He typically wields a vibranium shield or, in more recent comics, an energy shield. Yup. Down the line, we're going to be seeing our boy John with a vibranium shield. More on that soon. But what really defines him is his mindset. Walker sees himself as a patriot, someone who gets the dirty jobs done so heroes like Cap can stay clean. He's loyal to America. but it's often his version of America. He's a complex mix of trauma, pride, and unresolved rage. He's an imperfect man, and that's what makes him so relatable. Unlike Steve's perfect image and near squeaky clean persona, Walker isn't afraid of getting the mission done by any means necessary. And don't get it twisted though, him and Steve share a lot more in common than you think. John is a man who loves his country and his family. The MCU and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he's shown to be a loving husband who not only loves his country, but his wife and his kid as well. At the end of the series, we see him don the mantle of the US agent. And who was the first person who saw him in this uniform? His wife. They share an embrace at the end of the series of him being his own thing serving his country. But the lingering thought of being in Captain America's shadows catches up with our boy. Keep note, prior to this, his partner dies in battle during the fight with the Flag Smashers. After killing one of them in broad daylight, he then is stripped of the title of Captain America. This is the scene where people started to hate John as a character. Oh, he just murdered a civilian in broad daylight. He doesn't have the right to be Cap. First off, okay, and second off, civilian? A civilian.
This is the only language these people understand.
Do you not pay attention in that specific episode or the entire series in general? These mofos are terrorists who were dead set on protesting with lives when Thanos' snap was better than what it is now by any means necessary. So John takes one of them out of the board in broad daylight and the government suddenly wants nothing to do with him? After everything he did for this country and what they needed him to do, he's discarded? Like that. John goes rogue obviously and goes after the Flag Smashers with a homemade shield, and I shit you not, this line is where John truly snapped.
Morgenthau! Let's finish this.
I didn't mean to kill your friend. I don't want to hurt people that don't matter.
You don't think Lamar's life mattered?
Not to my fight.
What are you doing? Why are you still holding back? Have you forgotten what they said to us? What they did? They think you're a monster. Prove them right.
If someone told me my best friend's life did not matter at all to their cause, I would not stop until that person is either brought to justice or a bloodstain on my shield too. Sam doesn't exactly help either.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
What else would we call them?
Sam, they are. And the reason why they are is because the government made them themselves. I don't blame them. The writers were horrid of writing this speech, and it could have gone a lot better, but for now, as it stands, Sam's still getting used to the ropes. Let's fast forward to the events of the Thunderbolts. John starts off his usually cocky self, we love him like that, but later in the movie, it's revealed that John's wife left him and took his kid. And I have to admit, it's actually his fault. Still living in the shadow of Steve Rogers and not getting over being a failed Captain America. He turns out to become a fucking deadbeat. Look, John, you gotta work with me here. I can't glaze your character enough if you don't give me enough work to work with. So later in the movie, we do find out that despite all that has happened, despite all his past mistakes and his flaws, he is still trying to be better. Become not the best Captain America, but the best agent the United States can offer. This is symbolized by, yes, his taco shield. 14 months later, John still has his shield bent into a taco after what Sentry did. Because he's still a broken man. And what I look forward to, and what I believe a good chunk of you are all looking forward to, is John finally redeeming himself and finding his self-worth and donning a shield that is unbreakable like him. Today, the US agent is still very active in the comics. In the current Sam Wilson Captain America series, Walker shows up to help Sam and Shang-Chi with a national security crisis. And over in Thunderbolts, he's a part of the Black Ops team with Bucky Barnes and Sharon Carter, doing the kind of missions you can't talk about on CNN. Yup, he's still a part of the Thunderbolts in the comics, which, hey, it's his team, I love him in there. While he is still rough around the edges, I mean, who isn't, Walker has evolved. He's not the same hothead as he was in the 80s. But don't expect him to start holding hands and singing the Star-Spangled Banner. He's a weapon with a conscience, still trying to find out what kind of hero he actually is. But there is one good thing. He learned. No more lives will be taken under his watch. So slowly but surely, he is redeeming himself. Even though he doesn't see it himself, you damn sure that his team does. Whether you see him as a necessary evil or a cautionary tale, the US agent is one of Marvel's most complicated takes on patriotism and power. He's not Steve Rogers, but that's exactly the point. All in all, the US agent is by far one of the most complex characters in the MCU to date. Whether you love him or hate him, you'll learn to love-hate him. Because in the end, he's just a soldier who not only loves his country, but his newfound family. And he will do anything in his power to protect them, by any means necessary. But that's all I got for you in today's cult meeting. What are your thoughts? You think John Walker is gonna get brainwashed later down the line? Or is he going to finally redeem himself and he instead dons an adamantium shield instead of a vibranium shield? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I know I was supposed to post another video before this, but hey, I just got into OJT, it's gonna be really hectic, and I do have a job, you know, I still gotta work for Big Boss Man, but I will be uploading whenever I can. But if you enjoyed, leaving a like would be awesome as it gets the video out there, and subscribing will keep you up to date on the latest cult meetings. That's all from your boy. I hope you have a wonderful day, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.